Welcome to the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka Blender HD. If you want to follow me on Twitter, and it's Friday, April 21st. It's Fighting Friday. We're fighting tomorrow. Maybe not. We're fighting. I don't stand a chance in the octagon, but maybe you do. On Draftkings this weekend, we got a fight night card, 12 fight slate. Starts at 4 p.m. Eastern, I believe. I don't think they'll push it back. Hopefully, no cancellations, right? They'll be taking the scales today, so hopefully we don't get any scrap fights because we only got 12 of them. We only got 12 of them. That's what we'll be going over today on the show. Short show today, typically on Fridays, Fighting Fridays. Hit those thumbs ups, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Good morning to the early birds, Wataz and Suki Singh, DFIC. Andrew Garcia, Bart B, Daniel Hutchings. Good morning. Good morning. We got everything for you for the UFC Fight Night 71. Fight breakdowns by Liam and Mike. They'll be coming out today. The Premium Grounded Pound podcast. The expert survey, projections, ownership, everything. You can get that with the combo premium package here at RotoGrinders. Click on the link in the description. Get $10 off your first month. So what do we do every week? We break down a DFS slate for Draftkings for an MMA slate. The two contextual variables that matter the most. We're playing GPPs. We're not even talking about cash games here, right? For GPPs, the two contextual variables, the size of the slate and the spread of the fights. Okay, so that molds typically increases or decreases the probability of what the nut lineup looks like. And with so few options in MMA, typically you're essentially aiming for the nut lineup, the best possible lineup that could be. 12 fights, okay? So somewhere in the middle. This is a medium to smaller size card, right? The larger the card, right? There's more opportunities. There's more fighters that have the ability to, put up 100 plus points, be in the optimal lineup, the nut lineup. Less fights, there's less opportunities, which means on larger cards, you much more heavily prioritize ceiling. And on smaller cards, you're more likely to prioritize like winning a fight. A winning score from an underdog getting 82 points, that is more likely to be optimal than on a 15-fight card. So on this is a 12-fight card coming up tomorrow. So I would say it's the mid to small. I would say like 13 fights is like medium size, 14, 15 is large. 12 is mid to small, 11 is getting a little smaller, 10 is pretty small, 9 is ridiculously small. So on this card, especially with the way the pricing is, when we have we have like a $9,700 fighter, $9,500 fighter, $9,400 fighter. Like if those guys put up like a decent amount of points, I mean, maybe only getting 80 points from an underdog winner may be fine. So I'm leaning more on the side. A little bit more, just tilted a little bit more. I'm prioritizing, especially for the underdogs, win equity over finishing equity, over ceiling amount of points. Then the second contextual variable is the spread of the fights. Now we do have like a 5-1, 6-1 favorite, Montel Jackson versus Ronnie Yaya. We have like a 3 to 4-1 favorite, Lucindo over Brogan Walker. Then we have like 2-1, Bobby Green, Jared Gordon fight, the Francis Marshall, William Gomi fight. Everything else is under 2-1. That includes a $9,100 fighter, a 9,000. Ricky Glenn is 9,000. He's minus 150. So he's a 3-2 favorite. So we got a lot more pick'ems, a lot more under 2-1 here. So I would say that although we do have some bigger favorites here, the nut lineup, maybe it doesn't necessarily spend all 50,000, but I don't think this is necessarily a slate where, a 48K lineup wins. You leave 2,000 on the table, and that's the winner. I'm not sure we're going to get like 6 big scoring underdogs, those types of slates. So I would lean in both contextual variables as slightly lean towards win probability. Right? I don't necessarily have to prioritize as much ceiling equity And then on the other hand is I probably want to spend most of my salary, right? Probably in the 49.2 to 49.8, that type of range. But probably don't leave a ton of salary. But also probably with only 12 fights, avoid a lot of the 50K type lineups. Maybe you'll be able to. There'll probably be some. There are going to be plenty of 50K lineups that contain like Yaya, Walker. That contain a Bobby Green, Brad Tavares combination or something that could be like less duplicated or even unique. I'm not sure about unique, but under five dupes. So that's how I'm viewing like lineup construction for this slate. Now, obviously, with the bigger favorites like Jackson, Lucindo, and Green, like Montel Jackson's 9,700. I mean, essentially, like he's gonna have to score like 110, 120 points to, come close, I guess. Especially on a slate if not many underdogs win. Right? Not many underdogs win, and Montel Jackson scores like 102. Like, that's not gonna be enough. But if he's going to be owned. I mean, obviously he rates out the best. He has the highest inside the distance line. That fight is very binary, right? Essentially, it's Ronnie Yaya is like a one-dimensional submission jiu-jitsu guy, right? Not even the greatest of grapplers, but just like as obviously once the fight gets to the mat, he has a humongous advantage. Problem is that if he doesn't get to the mat, he's just a sitting duck. He doesn't really offer much other than I'm going to desperately try to shoot takedowns, get you down, pull guard, get you somewhere down there and try to submit you. Plus 625 inside the distance doesn't look very likely. Montel Jackson minus 150. But it could be one of those fights where, Yaya tries to get it down in the first round, and Montel Jackson knocks him out in the second, and Montel Jackson doesn't get 100 points. Or it could be a fight where Montel knocks him down 3 times in the first round, or a quick win bonus or something. Next thing you know, he's 135 points. It could be that. The main event on this card, Curtis Blaydes versus Sergey Pavlovich, going to be the highest owned fight on the slate, and probably for good reason. Blaydes minus 130 inside the distance, Pavlovich plus 170 inside the distance. The fact that it is 5 rounds probably doesn't matter. When it comes to ceiling, it probably doesn't. I mean, Pavlovich has not been out of the first round in years, right? He's on a winning streak. Blaydes obviously has wrestling upside. His floor is much higher. Pavlovich's path to 100 points in this fight is a first-round knockout. I mean, essentially, or multiple knockdowns, I guess. Like, Pavlovich ain't winning a decision. Like, to get that out of your head. I doubt this fight goes 25 minutes. Right? This fight is minus 900 something inside the distance. Like, to not go the distance, it's like minus 150 to end in the first round. Right? So 60% implied probability of just it's ending in the first round. So if you view this as like I got to play a 5-round fight. Like this fight might as well be 3 rounds. So don't let it really get into your mind that it's like, oh, well, it's a 5-round fight, so I get round 4 and round 5 points if it goes to decision. Like, it's not one of those fights. Obviously, the longer it goes, the more it favors Curtis Blaydes. But of course, Curtis Blaydes has been hurt plenty of times also. He's been knocked out, right? He's been knocked down a couple of times. He's not the most durable. So if he can't get Pavlovich to the mat, and also Blaydes isn't that bad of a striker, but I mean, you would think that he'd get Pavlovich down. Pavlovich has the last time he's been on the mat, which was a while ago, didn't look like he could do much there. Things seems pretty helpless there. So like if this fight does get extended, I mean that just favors Blaydes more and more. Pavlovich at 7,400 plus 170 inside the distance. I mean you're essentially paying 7,400 for a first round knockout. Now for that price at plus 170 inside the distance, that's pretty good, right? But he's also going to be popular. I have him closer to like around 40% owned as an underdog. But I mean, you got 5 minutes. Pavlovich has got 5 minutes there. But even a second round knockout, like we said, maybe you don't need 100 points out of all your fighters, especially the underdogs. not many underdogs win, and Pavlovich gets a second round knockout and scores 85 points. That may be fine for 7,400. Right? It's the fighters that are priced up that are first round or bust knockout guys that typically I try to stay away from. I'm not sure if we have really that dynamic on this card, because even Montel Jackson, maybe he doesn't get the knockout, but he beats the crap out of Ronnie Yaya. He could get there some other way. I think one of the least appealing fights on the slate is Bobby Green versus Jared Gordon. Bobby Green is plus 305 inside the distance. He's really not really been a finisher. I mean, he finished what? Whatever his name is. He got to finish like 2 fights ago or something like that. But that was his first finish in like 10 years. Now, so he has volume, right? This is, I'm aiming for a cash game type of floor value, 9,400. I mean, it's okay. Francis Marshall versus William Gomi. There's wrestling upside here, but I think Marshall's gonna be overowned, right? I mean, he has a good floor. I think Carini still. I think that, to me, weird to say, I think the most important fights on the slate, other than like, will someone score enough points, right? I think we got the Junior Tafa versus Muhammad Usman fight, the mid-range 8,200, 8,000 fight. Look at these ITD lines, plus 125, plus 190. Like, this fight is not going to look very good, okay? Muhammad Usman, throws is like Derek Lewis almost, right? Throws like 3 strikes. He has some wrestling, right? He's Kamaru's brother, right? Not very good. But he doesn't have much volume. And Junior Tafa is like, I'm not even sure if is UFC level. He basically just storms forward on the regional scene and just, like, if you're not ready, he knocks you out, type of thing. Like, not very processed, not very technical. Just like, I'm a big guy. I'm going to go and I'm going to just overwhelm you and hopefully you crack. So this fight could be ugly, right? It's a heavyweight fight also. So, like, these guys have like 1 round. Do they get there in the first round or do they not? But either of them could win. Either of them could get knocked out. I think the Norma Dumont-Carol Rosa fight matters more for Rosa than for Dumont. Dumont is vastly overpriced for her inside the distance line. I mean, she is one of the worst on the slate at 8,300, and she's the technical favorite. It's now pick 'em, minus 110 each. Carol Rosa typically is priced in the 9Ks, right? Carol Rosa is typically favored because she fights at a high pace and she wrestles. I mean, she at least attempts wrestling a lot. So I think Carol Rosa is going to be pretty popular. I think if you're playing double ups or whatever, Carol Rosa would be one of the first people in, right? Because you can't. Norma Dumont doesn't really finish anyone, right? Or inside the distance line sucks. And Carol Rosa, pressure, high pace, wrestling. She may be a little bit overowned for her ceiling in GPP. But I think that's going to be an important fight. I think the Batgarel Dana and the high stand fight is an important fight. It's kind of a binary outcome there. Dana has plus 130 inside the distance, which is a pretty good for $8,700 fighter. But I also understand that his path to 100 points is pretty much 5 minutes also. Right? Dana's high stand high stand has wrestling upside. That's why this fight, I think this fight is going to be very popular. What is it? The first fight of the night? Because high stand could chain wrestling. He could go in plus 265 inside the distance. Not a bad number for 7,500. The problem is that Brady Highstand comes in for takedowns with his chin up, right? I'm just going to walk into you and you go for takedowns with your chin up, and you're either going to get the takedown or you're going to be down. Or you're going to be down. You're going to be the one on the other. You're going to be lying on your back, right, staring at the lights. Once you come back to consciousness. So this fight is kind of binary. The fight I'm the most interested in, which is the weirdest to say, is the Carini Silva Priscilla Cachoeira fight. Carini Silva has a plus 110 inside the distance, and for a female fight to be so favored to, like, this fight is like is favored to end inside 1.5 rounds. Cachoeira is plus 270 inside the distance. Cachoeira has a similar ITD line as Highstand, Semmelsberger, Tavares, Ricky Glenn. I mean, better than Bobby Green. Karine Silva is like a pressure wrestler type. I mean, she's coming off of what? Win off of what? The Dana White Contender Series or whatever. Cachoeira is known as, catch a beating by a lot of people. Priscilla catch a beating. But in actuality, like, Cachoeira just has no striking defense. But Karine Silva is not really much of a striker. I mean, more of a wrestler. And Cachoeira, while not being a wrestler, the only time she's lost to a wrestler, really, has been Valentina Shevchenko and Jillian Robertson. Two really good wrestlers. And get submitted. Karine Silva is pretty new. I mean, she's pretty young. I think Karine Silva may end up being overowned because her inside the distance line looks good. I think maybe more people play Marshall. It's hard for me to tell. I think both Marshall and Silva are going to be popular up here. But as far as an underdog, I mean, I have, based on just that 18% ownership for Cachoeira, I've hers like probably the best underdog play on the slate compared to ownership. Right? I take a look here, like at 18% owned, at plus 270 inside the distance. I think more people play William Gomis. I think more people play Christian Giagos, which I don't mind. I don't mind Giagos either. Giagos' problem, it's hard for me to play Ricky Glenn at 9,000. As only a minus 150 favorite with a plus 255 inside the distance lines. Yes, I know he got a finish like 2 fights ago or whatever. But he really doesn't finish anyone. I'm more likely to use that as a fluke than anything else. Christos Giagos is actually not that bad. And he's a good wrestler. I think Christos Giagos may even, like, I would like in the first round, he may actually look like he should be the favorite fighter. The problem is that after the first round, like Giagos has looked good in a lot of fights for 5 minutes. Then by the second round, just like gasses horrendously. And then puts up no resistance and then just like basically gives up. So that's the problem with him. Bruno Silva against Brad Tavares. I think that fight may be like interesting from a technical standpoint. But Tavares is really not much of a finisher. Bruno Silva is. But is he going to be able to? Tavares is pretty decent. I mean, this would be more like a stand-up. I mean, like Tavares Silva, if it goes past 5 minutes, like this fight busts. Right? Especially for Tavares' side. Like Tavares, I think, has 5 minutes to get a finish, and that's it. Bruno Silva's 7,300. So, if he gets a finish in the second or third round and puts up 70, 80 points, can he be in the nut lineup? Maybe. Maybe he can. Then we got the Semmelsberger. Well, we have Semmelsberger, Jeremiah Wells. This is a pretty close fight. But I mean, I view this fight as kind of if Semmelsberger doesn't get a knockout in the first round, I mean, I don't know how he gets there. Jeremiah Wells at least has wrestling to fall back on. I'm not all that thrilled with Jeremiah Wells. We really haven't seen them. I mean, he's had 3 fights. And because of his wrestling, which he's not like the greatest wrestler, but he's not bad. Like he's barely absorbed that many strikes. Semmelsberger could hit hard. Semmelsberger can knock people out. So this fight, I mean, a lot of these fights, I mean, we have fights that are like the Rosa Drummond fight. That's most likely almost, I mean, it's like minus 300 to go to decision. Then we have certain fights where it's like, if this makes it past 10 minutes, I'd be shocked. Like that type of dynamic, which makes it a high variance slate. But I think mostly everyone is viable. I think I'm less likely to play. I mean, it obviously depends on the lineups that you play. Like I'm going to be playing 50 large field lineups and 3 small field lineups. And in my small field lineups, I'm pretty much just Xing out Ronnie Yaya, Brogan Walker, and Jared Gordon. Jared Gordon, can he beat Bobby Green? Yeah, I guess so. Jared Gordon can wrestle. I don't think Bobby Green is great, but he's great at what he does, which is essentially stay on the outside, throw a lot of jabs. He talks some trash, and then he goes to decision and gets 85 points or something, right? Like something like that. That's what he's good at. I don't mind taking a shot at Bobby Green at cheaper pricing, but maybe not at 9,400. Then we got Yasmin Lucindo versus Brogan Walker, and both these women aren't very good. Lucindo, a little bit more exciting, a little bit more pressuring, wrestling. Brogan Walker is essentially like a stand-up point fighter. 6,700. Does she have win equity? Yes. God knows how little she scores in a win. Right? What, you get 20 significant strikes around, and then that's in stuffs takedowns by Lucindo. It's hard for me to see Brogan Walker breaking the slate. Obviously, the round one prop is what, 5%. So can it happen? Sure, I guess so. Dfs says in the chat that Rosa will be higher owned. Well, I have Rose at 28. If you think that she's even higher, I mean, then she's even more over-owned. Like, I have her over-owned for her ceiling at 28%. If you tell me she's going to be 34%, that just makes her even more over-owned. That means it's less and less likely I have lineups with her in GPPs. But I think if you're playing double ups, I think that, I mean, to me, that's an easy one. That's a layup. I mean, Bobby Green. I mean, I wouldn't. If you want to play Bobby Green in double ups, go for it. You want to play Brad Tavares? I mean, probably you're not. You probably play their opponents, right? Like if you want to play Jared Gordon, even it's like, oh, I need someone really cheap. I mean, that fight most likely goes 3 rounds. I mean, I think that's favored to end with a decision. So even if Gordon loses and gets 35, 40 points, I mean, that's better than 0. But I think the main things to recognize are that obviously the main event is going to be insanely owned. And don't think of it as a 5-round fight. I have Pavlovich at like 42% as slightly over-owned. I have Blades at 48%, but he probably should be 48%. Maybe he should be a little higher. At 8,800 and minus 130 inside the distance, maybe he should be 60% owned. I mean, truthfully, from an inside the distance standpoint, I mean, it's close enough to Montel Jackson, and he's 900 cheaper. And he's technically got 5 rounds to do it, but I mean, I don't think that's going to happen. And hey, if this fight lasts 5 rounds, Blades probably has God knows how many points. And that's the only way I see, how does it get to the 4th round? Other than the fact that, Blades taking him down and then just not being able to submit him. And Pavlovich stands up and gets taken down again. It's hard to see Pavlovich lasting that long. It's hard to see Blades lasting that long. Right? It's neither of these guys. They stand him up in the 2nd round, and then Pavlovich knocks him out. Oh, that could happen. But when this main event comes on tomorrow, it's like, this isn't a bathroom fight. Like, don't grab a stack and say, I'll catch up with it in the 2nd round. You may not get there. You want to do that? You want to do that for the even the Brad Tavares? You want to do that for the Dumont versus Rosa fight? Yeah, you could do that. That's pretty much my assessment. I mean, nothing else really stands out that much based on my spreadsheet. I'll wait for ownership to adjust. We have to see some weigh-ins because the odds may move. Because after weigh-ins, sometimes the odds move a little. But from an overall perspective, just from a wrestler by wrestler, by fighter, I have Francis Marshall over-owned. I have Ricky Glenn, even at 18% over-owned. If he's 10%, that's a different story. I have Norma Dumont at 14% being over-owned for plus 600 inside the distance. I have Jared Gordon a little over-owned. William Gomi a little over-owned. Even Brogan Walker and Ronnie Yaya, like 8% would be kind of a little overowned. Underowned. Montel Jackson may actually be underowned for his upside, for his ITD line. Lucindo, about efficiently owned. Carini Silva's plus 110 inside the distance. So it's not like I'm not going to play her at all. All I'm saying is that, I mean, this isn't high level women's MMA. Okay. This is low level stuff. The women's fights on the slate are low. The Dumont Rosa fight is not as low level. That's more evenly matched up. But the other ones are pretty. These are pretty young, inexperienced fighters. But I still have Cachoeira a bit underowned. Let's see. Tough is about the same. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, based on what I see right now, the ownership isn't that far off from my ownership that I have here currently. If I'd had to fade one of Blades or Pavlovich as of right now, I'd be fading Pavlovich. He fits the mold. I mean, outside of price, because the price makes it appealing. When you have guys that have 5 minutes, a 5-minute window, that short window, knockout or bust to hit their ceiling, I typically want to play them when people aren't playing them, and fade them when people are. So Pavlovich is going to be 40+% owned. Well, he's the underdog in the 5-round main event. It ain't going 5 rounds. You have to treat this like it was a 3-round fight. Plus 170. Yes, I get it. He's got 5 minutes to do it. And he could. He's been doing it. Right? It's like, he can't do it. No, he's literally been doing it. Look at his past 5 fights. He's literally been doing it. That's where his points come from. Oh, the fight lasted 39 seconds. Oh, okay. Well, that's a big score. Oh, the fight lasted a minute 17. Oh, okay. That's a big score. And Blades has been knocked out. But I still lean on the side of Blades. I think Blades obviously should be the rightful favorite, minus 175. And I think more people will look around to the underdog range and go, well, if I don't play Pavlovich, who do I play? They'll play Rosa. They'll play High Stand. They'll go, do I play Bruna Silva? People don't want to play Giagos, probably. People definitely don't. Priscilla Cachoeira? How do I play that woman? The bottom end, well, there's not much there. So a lot of people are just like, you know what? I'm just gonna bank on a Pavlovich KO and build my line, because I got guys in the mid range that I don't mind playing. Right? I can play Jeremiah Wills. I can play Pacquiao Dana. I don't mind playing Francis Marshall. I mean, like, a little bit more appealing. Just for the regular person. For me, I don't care. Give me lineups that are duped less than 5 times, that have a decent win probability. I'm good. I'm good. Doesn't matter to me. So yeah, so that's the breakdown. Lineup construction and strategy for tomorrow's UFC Vegas 71 MMA slate on DraftKings. Like I said before, you want a breakdown of the actual fights, right? You have to talk to Liam. You have to talk to Mike. That's in the premium section. Get the expert survey. You get the projections. You get the ownership, which gets updated every day. You get all of that. Just click on the link in the description. Get $10 off your first month. Get the combo. You get the MLB. You get NBA playoffs. You get PGA. You get everything. USFL. We have XFL. We got stuff. Everything. League of Legends or whatever. CSGO. Whatever's going on. You get everything. So sign up. And hit that thumbs up button on your way out the door. Like button. You know how much I like the like button. Subscribe button if you're new here. And you could always hit the notification bell to know when we go live. So smash everything you can. We got a big baseball slate today, right? MLB's going on today. How did everyone do with Fernando Tatis at 2K yesterday? At least you only paid $2K for a 0, right? At least you only paid $2K for a 0. It's baseball, people. It's baseball. Like anyone could go 0 for 5, right? 0 for 4, 0 for 5. Gotta play Fernando Tatis at 2K. You gotta play. No, you don't gotta. You don't gotta play anyone in MLB. MMA, you almost gotta play people because there's only 24 fighters to choose from. So you gotta play someone. You can't play Ronnie Yaya. You can't. You don't have to play the main event. You don't have to do anything other than hit the like button, smash that like button. You can do that. So yeah. So have a good weekend, people. I'll be back. I'll be back on Monday, and of course, as always, submit your questions to the show. So I answer your DFS strategy questions. Remember, Mondays are with James McCool. Fridays we do MMA, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you submit your questions at theoryofdfs.com, and I give you answers. That's what I do here. Monday through Friday, 11 o'clock Eastern, on the DFS pregame show on RotoGrinders.com.